Here's a story that happened to me yesterday. I was praying Minha at 3:20 in the shul that I pray in, and I'm hearing with a lot of rabbis that are praying in my minyan, I'm hearing that there's below me in the shul, which was on the second floor, below the shul, there was a kindergarten. Girls that must have been 5-year-old, 6-year-old. And I heard while I was praying that the girls were all saying Tehilla'S, Tehilla'S, which means Tehilla'S angry, Tehilla'S angry. And the whole time while I'm praying, hearing Tehilla'S, then everybody's praying. And then I finished Amida and I look down under in the window to see what's going on below me in the playground of this kindergarten. And I see that there's a girl, Tehillah, who's a Sephardi, dark girl, scrawny looking, doesn't dress well. And I see that the other girls in the kindergarten, good-looking kids, good-looking girls, dressing much better than her, were laughing at her and saying, Tehilla'S angry, Tehilla'S angry. And as she was getting really angry, and they were like starting up with her, they were sticking out their tongues at her, they were pushing her, they were kicking her, and she tried like a little bit to defend herself, and she couldn't, she was all alone. It broke my heart, and I was going to wait for the Hazan to come back and start the Kiddusha, to start the say Kadosh, 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 to pray with the minyan. I wanted to get to Kiddushayin, which is to me is very important, the mitzvah of being Mekadesh Shem Shamayim by saying Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. And at that moment I said to myself that I don't feel comfortable with this, I got to do something. So I left the shul and I went down to see where I could maybe access this kindergarten to see what's going on and what can I do anyway. Let's say there's a 1% chance I could help this girl. And then I noticed from the gate that there were 3 moras, 3 teachers sitting right there while this girl was being bullied. And they were talking between each other, not noticing what was going on. So I called from above and I said, hey, why are you letting Tehillah be bullied? Why are you letting her be a scapegoat? They don't know what was hitting them. They don't know what I was talking about. He says, look at Tehillah, she's being bullied. And they realized what was going on amongst their girls. And of course, this is like the after, in Israel, till 1:30 is they have to go to kindergarten, and then afterwards there's like optional. So this mother probably is busy at work and she's not noticing what her daughter is being bullied. And these teachers are not the main teachers, they're like secondary teachers. So they weren't maybe on top of the situation, and I didn't let this happen. And I went back to shul and I noticed from above that of course I missed Nakdishah, I missed Kiddusha, I missed saying Hashem is Kadosh, but I noticed that this girl was not being bullied anymore. Why would I do such a thing? I'm the only one in the whole shul who thought that a 1% chance that I could help this girl, I should try to do it. On Shabbat I read a story from Rav Nissim again. He would say there was an older man who knew Shas, a big Talmid Chacham, who did a lot of kindness to people. And this great rabbi, he was asked, why are you doing so much kindness? You could be sitting and learning, you're looking for kindness to do. He said that a few years ago, when this rabbi was at about midnight, he said he wasn't feeling good at all, and he fell asleep. And he finds himself in his dream by the court of Bet Din Shel Mala. They're judging him, and they're deciding that he has to end his life, game over, with all the things that he's done. He doesn't have any time left. And at that moment, an older man comes into the courthouse where he's being judged in Bet Din Shel Mala, and comes over to the courthouse and says, here's a letter, look at this. And they look at the letter and they say, okay, you have more time. And this older man says, I don't know how to get back downstairs to my body. And the older man who brought the letter said, come, I'll show you the way back home. And as he's taking his soul back to his body, this older man says, you don't remember me, but when you were 10 years old, now this is 60 years ago, he says, I remember that when I was in shul, he says, I was a refugee, I came and I didn't eat for a few days, I smelled horribly, awful smells were coming from me because I couldn't shower. I came to the shul for Friday night maybe somebody would invite me home, like some of the other poor people that were being invited. And your father was from the last people in the shul, you were with him, and you said to your father, let's take this old man, nobody's taking him home. And you didn't let your father give in, but your father says, no, it's not appropriate. And he went home, and you said that you don't want to join the meal. You told your father, you're not joining the meal, the Shabbat meal, until this man is going to have a meal. Your father, so he has no chances, go back to the shul and bring him here. So you went back to the shul as a 10-year-old kid, you brought me back to the home, and even though I smelled horribly, I didn't eat in a few days. You really saved my life. And for all these years, I was looking for a way to pay you back. And now was my chance. And when I saw that in heaven you were judged, that it was the end of your life, I came to the court, heavenly court, with a letter that said, Kol hamatzil nefesh achat miYisrael ki'ilu hitzil olam maleh. Somebody who saves just one person is like he saved the whole world. When I read that story, of course, the first thing is like, okay, Shas is important, Kiddusha is important. What about saving a kid from emotional harassment? That's also something that could be saving somebody's life. And I don't know if ever I'm going to get paid back for this, but I felt that this is a good video that people should see. Sometimes I look at my financials and I say, what in the world am I doing in this coaching business? You know, I'm not making enough money to support my 10 kids, but you know, there's two really questions in life. It's not as important how much money you make as it's important how you make your money.